Welcome to Straight to the Point. I'm your host, Representative Joe D'Orsi. In a world of long-windedness, I'm here to deliver you the capital news in 10 minutes or less. So, let's get straight to the point. So this is the Straight to the Point podcast, and this is part 2 of a very lively conversation with world-renowned Gen Z expert Steve Robertson, who also authored The Aliens Among Us, which is on the very mystifying Generation Z. Now, we left off last time, Steve, talking about AI, artificial intelligence. A lot to digest there. There's some benefits to it, but there's also some risks. Can you kind of go back over some of the acute risks that we're seeing now, that we may see in the future with artificial intelligence, and how that might affect the workplace, the marketplace, communities, etc.?
The AI question is really speculative in the sense of nobody really knows. We've seen enough movies to get us nervous about what could happen with rogue AI, or with just AI generally speaking, in terms of a workplace, a world where AI rules. We've also got the fear that AI could replace me as an employee here and there, right? So those things are very real. Do we know what that's going to look like? No. Do we think we know what it could look like? Absolutely. When I think about AI and some of the concerns around AI, my biggest concerns are amplifying some things that I think are very complicated and negative right now. We're living in an on-demand world. We're in a place where we have a very siloed human race, and things are being pushed towards that. It's really easy to be siloed, not go into an office, not go into a school, be home, live on demand, get everything you want at home.
And just to cut in, Steve, siloed is isolated a synonym?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And so when you look at it from that context, we have a thing called mean world syndrome that was studied in the 70s that talks about an irrational fear of the world outside. And there's a whole lot of science around that syndrome. But what we have now is we have people that are very scared to go outside. They are fearful of the world. We have the ability through AI to be local any way we want to and do anything we want to. And so one of the concerns I have is that human connection that we're wired to really celebrate and enjoy is something that is a skill that is very poorly practiced. And if we look forward to what does that mean? That means I can be at home and become anything I want to be. I have access to all information. I have the ability to learn skills. I can communicate and connect with people globally, but that's a different kind of digital connection, right? What do we need for tomorrow? This is what I'm fearful of, if you could say it that way. I'm fearful of we're not truly preparing a generation or ourselves to really be in position to run a world and be future-proofed in a world of tomorrow. What does that world of tomorrow look like? It looks like this. 65% of jobs are within the next 5 years. We don't know what those are. So how do we prepare people for those jobs? Because we don't even know what those jobs are going to be yet. Well, the way to prepare them, or ourselves, is to really focus on the muscles that require innovation and creativity. And those muscles include, as I mentioned last time, problem solving, certainly communication, perseverance, and there's a whole gratitude layer that comes into it. And so if we are neglecting those skills, what we are doing is we're taking something off the table that's going to really help us prepare for tomorrow. So my fear is not AI. My fear is more around that we're not going to be able to keep up with AI, navigate AI, be prepared to grow with AI to the degree we need to for tomorrow. So I know that's a bit of a nebulous answer, but that's a start.
Yeah, so some of the characteristics of Gen Z that we've covered have to do with technology. And I've heard you describe the swiftness with which technological advances have occurred, and they seem to be catalyzing. Can you kind of talk about that trend and how it affects our young generations?
It's really difficult to keep abreast of it. If you're in the space, let's call it of AI or technology, in that sector, you see more clearly how quickly, or the rate of the doubling time of technology, the speed of the doubling time of technology. By the time ChatGPT hit the shelves, it had already accomplished so much behind the scenes in the users that use this kind of technology before it became mainstream. And it became mainstream almost overnight. And the application that followed that release was seismic. So much so that some of the universities that I'm working with, and even actually some of the industry partners that I'm working with, are trying to now figure out, well, how do we put rules in place to stop people from using ChatGPT, call it in a term paper? I'm like, you've missed the mark. That should have happened years ago. Now we're way past that. You're trying to create rules in a space that don't matter anymore. Now you have to figure out, how do we leverage that technology? So where we are now is we're in this wild west where the speed at which updates and technology advancements is so quick, it's almost impossible to stay abreast, which means if you're one of the people that says, oh, I still have a rotary phone, I don't need a smartphone, you recognize, sadly, that there's a group of people that will become redundant almost overnight if they don't figure out how to stay abreast. That is why I said in our previous conversation that the world is becoming like Gen Z. Gen Z isn't becoming like the world. Let me rephrase that. Old generations are becoming like Gen Z. Gen Z is the new standard, whether we like it or not, in terms of technology and how they determine the world is going to live. So to answer your question, the doubling time, or the speed at which technology is doubling or increasing and becoming part of our daily lives, is at such a rate we cannot stay abreast. We can't keep up. I don't know when last I walked into a bank. Everything is digital. And we're right now in an economy where access over ownership is celebrated. So let me explain to you what that looks like. We're in a subscription economy, not in an ownership economy. I don't know if you still have LPs at home, if you have one of those beautiful videos from the Disney Vault that only came out once every 5 years, buy it now, and even have a VHS thing to play it on. No, because everything is subscription-based, which means not only the things that we used to own, we now only subscribe to, which means I own it until I don't. We have a mindset that AI and the speed of AI has brought in that I only have to be an employee while I want to be. Light switch. I'm an employee, now I'm not. I'm interested in this, now I'm not. So the impact that this speed of AI has had on us is dramatic, and it's changed even the philosophy that we live by. You know, the idea of being committed to your spouse, being committed to a workplace, being committed to anything doesn't matter anymore. Athletes change, presidents change, owners of businesses change, because it's all subscription-based. So where we are moving through AI is now we're in a place where compelling content is really what drives just about any economy. And so that changes the way we behave, it changes what we value, and it changes really how we interact with each other.
Yeah, so the task before us, Steve, for you, I mean, you counsel employers on how to not just attract but retain talent.
Yep.
For me as a lawmaker, I mean, I'm concerned with workforce development. I want my manufacturing outfits in my district to adjust so that they can get quality talent and keep it. Because, I mean, whether we like it or not, Gen Z is coming into the workforce, and we're not getting any younger as a state. Education is key to me too. I've worked really hard this session on school choice, which just basically gives parents and kids educational freedom. To me, from what I hear you saying, school choice would look to address some of these challenges, would it not?
On just about every level. As employers, we recognize that having somebody in the workforce and just having them check in, do their job, and check out, that's where we lose people. So when you're looking at retention, a different style of leadership is required, and that style of leadership requires you to upskill and grow your employees within a certain space, not just the space they're working in. When you look at it from a school perspective, when you start to see what really amplifies the ability of this generation, it's the opportunity to discover, it's the opportunity to self-direct, it's the opportunity to work on projects, and the speed at which students learn in those environments is absolutely incredible. What we realize then is that is one of the only ways we are truly going to position the next generation to be ready for the future. If we look at the sage on stage mentality of the second industrial revolution school model, this is, I'm the teacher, I'm the expert, I'm the sage, listen to what I'm saying and repeat and do what I'm doing, we realize that the fruit on that tree has died long ago. And if we truly want to be successful as a state, as a country, we recognize that education has to change, and the ability for parents to own what they believe their children should be learning, and for children to self-direct in some sense, and to learn through discovery, to learn through innovation, to learn through projects, as opposed to a set curriculum. Now, it sounds like it's crazy, but it really works. It's the only way we're going to leverage an organization, a generation, to be where they need to be. More importantly, to be ready for tomorrow, because they are not currently ready for tomorrow, and that's going to be very difficult for us to navigate.
Yeah. So great conversation. Steve Robertson, he's a world-renowned Gen Z expert. He happens to also be my friend, so I have to put that in there. And he's the author of a book titled The Aliens Among Us. Steve, thanks for joining for part 2.
Thank you so much.
This has been Straight to the Point. Visit repjod.com/mypodcasts.